Whoa! What's up, everybody? Welcome to NRW, and I'm your host here today, Rob the Movie Guy, and I thank you very much for joining me here today because today I've got a review here for you for my main man, Mr. Scott Adkins himself, playing a ninja in the film Ninja. Do I love it? Do I hate it? I will let you know, but first, let's roll the trailer real quick.
The ancient weapons of the ninja. They held legendary powers for both good men and evil. It was true then and there. It is true here and now.
Often in life does one have the chance to see something so beautiful.
Now it's just you and me.
Come and get it.
Now I've got dead bodies all over this city, and I can tie you to every goddamn one.
Two men, for God's sake. What's the problem?
It's him. Masuzoka Ishida.
Where is she?
Very close.
All right, the film Ninja. Now, just so you all know, I'm going to be doing a review for both of these Ninja films, starring Scott Adkins, starring Scott Adkins, Ninja 1, Ninja 2, Shadow of a Tear. I will have the review out for Ninja 2 very, very soon. But of course, today I'm getting into Ninja 1. Now, is this movie very good? I'll be honest with you, I thought it was fine. It wasn't terrible. I don't think it was the worst thing I've ever seen. In fact, I have seen a lot worse. Especially some films that do star my main man, Mr. Scott Adkins. I'll be the first to admit it, and I'm sure he'll be the first to admit it as well, too. But one other thing that I happen to notice here, that if I'm not mistaken, there might be two trailers out there for this movie, or maybe just one. I'm not sure. I came across only one that I can recall. But the trailer that I believe you guys have seen is the possibly one of the most unexciting things I've ever seen. Now, there's definitely a lot of action sequences in that trailer, but the trailer really doesn't do much as far as what the plot is really all about. It just kind of gives you this idea that ninjas are out there and they're still there and they're trying to protect something. There's a villain, there's a hero, and that's pretty much it. The film itself, as far as the plot is concerned, I'm not going to try to get too much into it because it's just going to take way too much time. But basically what it really is about is that there is Scott Adkins, who plays the character of Casey Bauman, who is the only white kid in this dojo, white man rather, because he's an adult now. But he has a potential to become something called, I believe is pronounced sake or sake. They say it in the movie, and honestly, I'm really terrible with a lot of Japanese and Asian names altogether, so I have to be very cautious and not to butcher it. So I hope I pronounced that right. If we have any Japanese viewers out there, please let me know in the comment section down below if I butchered any names and the proper way of saying it here. But again, this is something that he's potentially in line for something to be called a sake in this dojo that he is living out of. And there's this other student out there, a character by the name of Mazazuka, who is the villain in this movie, who has been pretty much bred in this environment from the day he was born up until this point in his adulthood. And his sole purpose in life is to become this sake. He's supposed to be the next successor of the sensei that's currently running that dojo. And for whatever reason, he has it out for Scott Adkins, or in this case, Casey Bowman, because, I don't know, maybe he's jealous of something. But at any rate, he almost kills him in this training session, and then the sensei pretty much tells him to fuck off, and he's no longer welcome back. And this is, you see one of the most cheesiest and unintentionally funny dramatic sequences that I've seen in a movie, especially in an action film, which isn't too far-fetched to do in many cases here. But it pretty much established that this guy, has nothing else to live for but this. And then he begins his rampage on wreaking havoc in the school, because he feels like he is the sole heir of this particular title of running that dojo. Why that was so important for him, we never really know. We just take it on face value because he's obsessed with this thing and felt like he was betrayed by his sensei and earning what he thought was rightfully his. And in the process, the sensei in that particular dojo was supposed to announce Casey Bowman as being the next successor, and obviously that didn't happen. But then what ends up happening is that there is a particular little box, not little, but big box called a Yuri Bitsu, which basically contains like these ancient ninja weapons of something called a Kuka Ryu, I think is how you pronounce it. This old ancient ninja, one of the first ones, who they kept this clothing of this ninja and weaponry and whatever else as part of, like, I guess you can think of it as like the holy grail, if you will, of ninja stuff. So, in trying to protect that, because they knew that this particular villain is going to want to get that for something he felt like was rightfully his, that's where all the whole story takes place. And there's this whole unnecessary side plot with this particular underground cult for this corporation called the Rings, which for me was kind of reminiscent of the 10 Rings in the Marvel comic films in the comics rather, for Iron Man as one of the main antagonists in the Mandarin, I believe is how you pronounce the character's name. At any rate, so that's pretty much the plot. So this guy wants what he believes is his, and kills the sensei, and now Scott Adkins and the sensei's daughter in Namiko, played by the actress Mika Hiji, I believe is how you pronounce her name. They are on the run and trying to survive, and Scott Adkins ends up having to save the day, and there's a bunch of other stuff that occurs that, I'll be honest with you, as many times I have seen the film, which is probably a total of like 6-7 times altogether, I honestly don't really pay attention to this because I'm only really interested in the action scenes. Now, as far as the film is concerned, is it any good? I mentioned before, I just thought it was okay. I don't think it was terrible by any means. I do think that the action sequences are pretty good. In fact, one of the major positives that I can say about this movie here is that the film definitely has a higher budget in terms of Scott Adkins films, because normally any film starring Scott Adkins are very, very low budget. This budget here, if I'm not mistaken, I think it runs somewhere between, like, I don't know, $7 to $10 million. And you can definitely tell in the movie that they definitely had a much bigger budget. They had better sets, and they had a little more time to shoot the film, because I think this film took about 6 weeks to make, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas normally some other Scott Adkins starring films usually takes about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks at most. And very seldom do you have more than a month to be able to make a film which stars Scott Adkins. So this was a very wonderful luxury for everyone in the crew to have. And the director in this movie, Mr. Isaac Florentine, who has directed some of my favorite action films in quite some time. Undisputed 2, Last Man Standing, which I've done a review with David before. If you have not checked out that review, I highly recommend that you do check it out. Also Undisputed 3, Close Range, this film, and also the sequel, Ninja 2, Shadow of a Tear. I thought he does a great job in establishing the action sequences here and really letting you see the movement of every character that's involved in these fight sequences. And that guy is one of the best action directors, I think, of all time. He is up there. He's not a very well-known director when it comes to, I guess, the mainstream market, if you will, and which is a shame because he definitely does have a good eye for that. The only thing that I will say that I think he doesn't do very well is setting up the moments where you're hearing the character say something to the effect of like you see in, I think you might have seen in the trailer, but in the movie, there is a scene where the villain Masazuka was asking, was pretty much yelling at Casey, give me what's mine. And he's wearing the ninja suit of that old ancient ninja warrior from way, way back in the day. And he's like, come and get it. But he says it at a distance, like, you see where Freddy's at? So imagine him standing right there and he's saying that line, come and get it. You don't see that reaction in the eyes of like him saying like, come and get it, motherfucker. You don't really feel that. And I felt like in some of those important sequences that was missing. It was kind of lackluster for me because it definitely had the potential to really build up that anticipation for these fights, which for me personally didn't really necessarily do very well in. And one other thing too is that I'll be the first to admit it, and Scott Adkins will be will agree with this because he has said it many, many times. The character that he plays in this movie is kind of boring. And really, in fact, he was the least interesting character in the entire movie. The main man, my main man, Mr. Scott Adkins, is the most boring character in the film, and he'll be the first to admit that as well, too. And, there's a lot of things that he tries to do in playing the straight man, and I'm afraid that the dramatic chops that's required for you to be able to feel for this character, Scott Adkins doesn't really do well in that regard. I think Scott Adkins is a fine actor. He is not the greatest actor in the world, but I think he does well enough to get the job done. One of his best roles by far, for me personally, is the Boyka films. That character, you see the passion in his eyes when he wants to be the best fighter in the world. He's a very aloof character. He's very antisocial in a lot of ways. But you feel for the guy, and that's a very rare thing with some action characters, that you actually feel and connect with the guy, because this guy was meant to be a villain, but at the end of the day, you come around in supporting the guy to the point where he's got 2 other sequels after that. He's got Undisputed 3 and Undisputed 4, which both are great films, especially Part 3. Fuck, man, that movie was so good that I can go on for hours about that film, and one day I'll do a review for that as well, too, so be on the lookout for that bad boy. But I digress here. But the point is that I'm getting at is that the acting chops in this film for Scott Adkins was okay. It wasn't all that great, but I was here for the action sequences. I mean, look, I am a Scott Adkins supporter. I will watch anything Scott Adkins is in. If Scott Adkins is taking a shit, I'll be the first in line to watch that. Why? Because I am a supporter of that man. I am a Scott Adkins fanboy here. I love his movies. Not all his films are great. I'll be the first to admit that too. And I thought this movie was just mediocre at best. Not a terrible movie like I mentioned before, but it's just okay. Now, would I go as far as recommending this movie? If you're a Scott Adkins fan and you've never seen the film, I'd say check it out. I think you may come to enjoy it to a degree, but I don't think it's one of his best films. In fact, I think it's actually one of the lower parts of his filmography as far as the rankings are concerned. Which is unfortunate because I know that this is something that he'd been wanting to do for quite some time. He's told in many interviews in the past that he was a huge ninja fan. One of the first ninja films he ever came across was American Ninja, which came out way back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. This is a movie I've seen a long time ago, too. I have not seen the film in decades at this point, but I do remember enjoying the movie, but I don't remember what the plot is about, let alone who the actor was. But I do remember watching the movie and thinking that movie was awesome. And he had grown up with this movie, and at the age of 12 and 13, his father got him a ninja suit, and he just would not take that thing off. And he was like, I want to play a ninja one day. So he got to fulfill that dream of his of playing a ninja in a movie. And not only that, he's got to do it twice. So I thought that was really cool for him to fulfill that dream of his. And, like I said, that's pretty much it. I wouldn't go as far as saying I would recommend the film for everybody. I would be very selective at who I would recommend this to. In some cases, I probably would just play in the background, and hopefully maybe someone will turn to look at the screen and think, hey, this looks pretty good. Let me sit down and watch it. And hopefully I can convert somebody with that, which is what I intend on doing. Because literally right now, I'm not joking. I'm playing the movie as I'm doing this review right now, and hoping that maybe my wife and my sister-in-law, my son, maybe I walk by and be like, hey, you watching that movie? Like, yeah, what do you think? And then maybe they'll be invested. That's how I hope this would reach out to people and hopefully get some people interested in checking out some of his other work here. But those are my overall thoughts on the film. So I would give this film kind of like it's worth a shot. That's how I look at this movie. But let me know what you guys think. Have you seen this film? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Would you go as far as seeing the sequel after seeing this movie here, because I'll be honest with you, I did not know this one was coming out. This one had come out until I found out there was a sequel to that film. So the film Ninja 2 was coming out, I believe, in 2013, whereas Ninja came out in 2009. So it was a 4-year gap between those two films. And when I found out there was a second one, I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was the first one. So I looked for that movie, got it, I think I rented it. No, I'm sorry. I came across it on, I forgot what channel it was that it was available on demand. Saw it. I thought it was okay. I was excited for the second one, hoping that it would be better. And I have a lot to say about that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel. And also make sure you hit that notification button as well too. And make sure you also share and like our videos as well. And help us spread the good word that is all things New Release Wednesday. And help us bring our numbers up to 1,000 subscribers, because we have seen a slight increase in our numbers. And we are very grateful here at NRW for all the new subscribers out there. So thank you very much for that. And also check out our social media accounts as well too. We have a Facebook and Instagram page simply at New Release Wednesdays, and on Twitter at the NRW. And you can follow this guy over here at Instagram, Rob_Medina0585, and on Twitter at RobMedina0585, and on Facebook, simply just Rob the Movie Guy. Wow, that took a lot out of me. Anyways, thank you very much for watching the video here. I hope you guys liked it, enjoyed. Make sure you share, like, do all the great things to spread the word that is New Release Wednesdays. And stay safe out there, stay sexy, and cheers.
Don't wait,